The other factor that we have are similar tour options. We have over 200 brochure tours, and some of them are very comparable. What you need to do is you need to communicate with your tour consultant about what you want your students to get out of your tour. Say, I want my students to see X, Y, and Z. I want my students to get X, Y, and Z out of the tour. And they will find comparable tours that will meet those standards. I always suggest do not sell the tour name, but sell the destination. I will now give an example of how we are able to use the flexible date range and similar tour options and combining groups. We have a group from New York with 28 participants, and they want the Adventures of Spain leaving on the 11th. We have another group from Chicago with 14 participants wanting to leave on the 13th and wanting to go to the Adventures of Spain. We have a third group that's leaving from Memphis with 7 participants, and they would like to go to Madrid and Andalusia on the 16th. Before I go on, I'd like to tell you that Madrid and Andalusia and the Adventures of Spain are the same tour. There's one major difference. Adventures of Spain is 1 day longer. Their itineraries mirror each other minus that 1 extra day. So if you're thinking about what I was talking about, similar tour options as well as dates, think about right now how we may have put these 3 groups together to be on one bus so we could keep the tour as accessible and affordable for everybody on the tour. We chose to put the groups to go to Adventures in Spain on June 15th with 49 participants. We were able to fill the bus. And again, these 2 tours are very similar. 1 day difference. Now you're wondering why we chose the 15th. Why we chose the 15th. There could have been a lot of factors and why we actually chose the 15th, but if you notice, they're all in the date range for that time period. Variables on why we combined those groups the way we did: airline availability. We might not have been able to get 49 participants flying from those 3 states into their final destination in Spain on the same day. We try very hard to get all the groups at their final destination within no more than 3 hours of each other so they can start the tour together. Maybe we couldn't get them all out on that day, so we chose the 15th. Maybe we got some information and input from our offices abroad saying, you know what, there's a huge festival going on in Spain right now and there's no hotels available. Maybe you should have them come in on the 15th where we have enough space for them to come and stay at the hotels. I'm about to actually move away from consolidation, and I know it's a lot of information. Does anybody have any questions? We are now going to talk about the second factor and how we are able to keep our prices so low. Our flights. Now this is a stereotypical plane. A lot of people know that we have 3 types of services: first class, business class, and coach class. What a lot of people don't know is that there are a lot of different classes within the coach section. Someone in the Y section might be a business person. They might need flexibility with changing the names, they might need flexibility in changing the date or their destination, and they're going to pay for that, and they're going to pay for those frills. What EF does is that we've negotiated with the airlines to take those frills out so we can make each tour accessible and affordable to as many students as possible. EF sits in the V class. EF sits in the V class. Now this is just a diagram to show you the different types of classes that a coach might have. This doesn't mean that people in the V class are going to be sitting in the back with the bathrooms and that the Y class are going to be sitting up front. Someone in the Y class can be sitting next to someone in the V class. You're going to get the same drinks, the same peanuts, and the same dinners. The difference is that people have paid different amount of money for their flights. If you've noticed, right here in this example, there are 20 seats per section. Just say you have a group of 30 going to Spain. There are not 30 seats in the V class right there. What's going to happen is your tour consultant is going to call you and say, we got your Adventures in Spain tour, we have you leaving on the 15th, and we were able to find 15 seats on flight 237 and 15 seats on flight 265. Please talk to your chaperones and your parents and your students to see who would like to fly on which flight. We give you that ability to name who will go on what flight. This is where the 6-to-1 ratio is really important. Do we have any, is there any questions about the specific types of services that we have? Yes.
So then I'm just starting, so I shouldn't really have a group bigger than 20, right? I don't want to be on a separate flight, so I'm just going to have a group of like 15.
Well, no,
that's what you said.
No, this is not always the exact. This is not always the case. This is an example. I want to give you as much of information as possible for just in case. We might be able to get you all on that one flight, but I want to give you all the variables because it may happen. I wouldn't want you to get to the airport and realize, oh my goodness, you know, my kids are on different flights, or your tour consultant telling you at the last minute we have different flights.
Okay, because I really wanted a large group, but I don't want them to fly separately. So I think what you're saying is I should just have a smaller group if I want to keep them all.
Not at all. Use your 6-to-1 ratio. Utilize that. Get some help. Get help from your chaperones. Have that 6-to-1 ratio because in the end, your students are going to be seeing and going on an amazing tour, and that's the final process. You will be flying in and seeing each other within about an hour of one another, most likely.
Okay. All right.
But it's more about having the chaperones and you having adults and having other adults on your tour who can help you. Don't put this all on yourself. You definitely utilize your help.
Okay. Thank you.
Remember when I talked to you about the business person who has all the frills of being able to change their name at the last minute, changing the date, as well as maybe changing their destinations and how they are paying for that? Well, EF has negotiated, like I said before, with our airlines to take those frills out to make it more affordable. We have deadlines for cancellations and ticketing. We are not able to give you advanced seating. All you do is when you get to the airport, 3 hours prior to your flight leaving, tell the ticket agent that you have a group of 15 and that you like to get, that you would like to make the seating arrangements right then and there. Frequent flyer miles. EF is not able to give those to you, but my suggestion is to take your frequent flyer miles number if you have one, go to the ticket agents, give it to them, and you have a 50-50 chance of them actually giving it to you. Because we have those limitations and we want to keep the prices low, we are not able to give you these things. Now this picture looks very confusing, but it's actually quite simple. I'm going to talk to you about the hub and spoke system. Has anybody here had a direct flight recently? No? When I was younger, before I worked at EF, I never understood why sometimes when I'm flying into my final destination, I'd have to go in the opposite direction before I got there. I didn't comprehend that. Worked at EF, and then I learned about the hub and spoke system. And it made it very clear to me. Each airline, and right now, each airline has contracts with major cities, and they ask to have a major hub in those cities, which is their home base. In this example, we're flying out of Atlanta, and Delta Airlines has a major hub in Atlanta. Now, just say you're living outside of Atlanta, and the airlines that you have, and you're not flying on Delta, you will not be able to get to your final destination. You have to go through Atlanta in order to get to your final destination. In this example itinerary, we have Mr. Smith's group of 50 traveling from Columbus, Ohio to Rome, Italy. Now, United's hub is in Chicago. So leaving Ohio does not have a major hub, so they have to fly from a spoke to the major hub, which is Chicago. And then from Chicago, they're going to switch planes and get on a Lufthansa flight. Now, United and Lufthansa are sister companies. And what that means is that essentially, yes, they have different names, but they're pretty much the same company. This means that you won't have to recheck in your luggage, and your luggage will go directly to your final destination. Now, Lufthansa's major hub is in Frankfurt, and they have to fly in and check in into their home hub before they can go anywhere else. Once they checked in at home, then they can go on to Italy, which is the spoke, which is another spoke. Anybody have any questions on this? I mean, the likelihood of you having 2 to 3 legs, either leaving the United States or in Europe, is very likely. Does anybody have any questions about this?